Hi everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here, and I just got back from my second viewing of Avengers Age of Ultron. I actually kind of had to see it twice because I wasn't sure how I felt about it, and that should tell you kind of a lot right there. So I'll just give you my first impressions first. I'm going to try and keep this spoiler free, maybe to a point, and then I'll give plenty of warning. But this first part will be pretty much spoiler free. How does it stack up against the current Marvel universe? Well, is it better than the first Avengers? Yes, but just barely, in my opinion. I think they slightly fixed some of the things that could have been considered issues in the first Avengers, and I think overall was a little bit better. But is it better than Guardians of the Galaxy, my current front runner for Phase 2? I'm actually going to say no. I think Guardians is still a better movie. In Guardians, it's something different. At least we haven't seen in a Marvel movie. And some of it was even kind of stuff we haven't really seen before in a movie in general. And this one, in Age of Ultron, some of it feels like the same movie again. I don't think it gives too much away. But the end, they're fighting a whole bunch of minions again, just tearing them apart, just like the last movie. Someone fights the Hulk, just like in the last movie. They fight each other, just like in the last movie. A lot of it feels like it's, just going over it again. And it's not bad because, the first Avengers is really good. I think we all wanted to see something different, and I think the build-up for this really felt like that too. And I think that's why there's some bad reviews kind of going along out there. And that's why I saw it twice. I want to make sure I just didn't hype it up so much, and then it just didn't deliver on, this huge plane I put it on. And that's actually kind of how I felt the second time around. I think the first time was just I hyped it up way too much, and then I didn't. The second time I knew more what I was going into, and it felt a little bit better that way. So yeah, I think it just got a little bit overhyped. It's a little bit of rehashing the same things, but still overall a good movie. So I think I want to break this down by character, and hopefully I won't go too long there because there are a lot of characters to cover. So let's get started. So first I'll talk about Iron Man. I don't think he's changed since the first movie. I think he had that big change where he didn't want to make weapons, he wanted to be responsible. That's about it. I don't feel like he's changed anything from what happened in the second one or the third one. He's just the same guy again, and just doesn't feel like Tony's learning anything. He's become this archetype, and it's kind of becoming weaker for it. Sure, he still has his funny lines, and he's still, that likable asshole, but for me, it's starting to wear a little thin. He should have some character development, and it really doesn't feel like he's getting any. So Captain America kicked ass in this movie again. They're really paying a lot of attention to him. He is the leader now. He really feels in charge. He can still handle it, handle himself. He does come to odds at Tony Stark setting up for Civil War down the line, and he just really kicks ass. I think they're trying to spotlight him a little bit more, to be honest, because Chris Evans has a little bit longer on his contract, where, Robert Downey's pretty much done. He's going to be in Civil War, and I think that's about it. So, but Cap, feels like he's expanding. There is a little bit that he is kind of doing the same thing, but not really. You can tell there's a change between each movie with Cap, and it's really done well, and I think that he's great. Thor is incredibly underutilized in this movie. I don't really get what his subplot did, or what did it really help. He just kind of fit wherever they needed to put something where his power would go. He didn't have really a story arc. He still feels like Thor from the first movie. He was just really underutilized, and so in a way he feels like Iron Man really hasn't changed, but it's not as bad because he just didn't have the time to. They didn't do a lot with Thor, and that's really unfortunate. But in battle, he kicked ass for sure. He had some awesome moments, but as a character, I don't think much happened. So then there was Hulk. So there's a point where Hulk loses control, and it's fantastic. Like the rage they did with the CG, just amazing. He just looked just full of rage. It's the only way to really put it. And it was great. Bruce Banner in general, Mark Ruffalo was really good as well. He kind of interacted a lot more. He had a little bit more of a story arc, and he was done really well. Hulk was good. So we got Black Widow next. Black Widow, she works better in movies like The Winter Soldier. She's a spy. She's not really a soldier. So in the big epic ending, she's still just going pew, 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 pew. Just like, the first movie that everyone kind of gave her crap for. You get to learn a little bit more about her backstory, and she develops more with other characters. So she's not really wasted. She's just kind of there. Just these big battles, she doesn't really quite fit in. She's a spy, and that's her character. They spend a lot of time on Hawkeye, and I think that's because they're a little bit worried that he's becoming the Marvel equivalent of Aquaman, where he's just kind of... Everyone just kind of laughs at him. He's got a bow and arrow. And they actually kind of mentioned that at one point. It's really funny, actually. But they kind of gave him a pretty decent arc and filled him out as a character a lot more. And it's the better for it. I really hope they do more with this character. So we'll see. He is going to be in Civil War. So maybe we'll get to see a little bit more of this character. So newcomers, we got Scarlet Witch, and she was fantastic. They hinted at a lot of things, like her future relationship possibly with the Vision, just the amount of power that she could wield if she doesn't control her emotions, and just really well. I really like this Scarlet Witch. And then Quicksilver is another one introduced, and if you didn't know, he's also in Days of Future Past. And honestly, I think the X-Men version of Quicksilver is better, just as an enjoyable character. The Avengers version is much more comic accurate. He's got his rage, he kind of protects his sister, but he just didn't feel very fleshed out. He had more screen time than the X-Men's Quicksilver, but I don't know. I seem to like that. I enjoyed the X-Men one better. In this one, he was kind of there. Kind of there for a reason, which I'll go into when I get some more spoilery stuff. So the other one they introduced, or the last one, is the Vision. And his birthing scene was fantastic. And he actually comes across very much like the comic, where he's an android, but he acts so human, you kind of forget that, and he's honestly a really great character. For the little bit of time that he got, he was done very well, and I really liked this Vision. And one last thing I do have to mention is they use War Machine a lot more. He has a really cool kick-ass scene, and I'm glad. I mean, they have Don Cheadle, and they haven't really used him. For kicking ass, he had that little bit scene at the end of Iron Man 2. He's barely used in 3. And it's like, man, you got Don Cheadle. Use him. And I think they finally used him a lot more in this movie, and they hinted that he's going to be coming up more. And I really hope they do. War Machine's a great character, and Don Cheadle's a great actor. Let's see more of that. There's actually 3 villains I kind of want to touch on. There's Baron von Strucker, and he is barely in it, even though they set him up a lot more. You kind of just forget he even existed. He just kind of was like a MacGuffin to get the story going in a way. I know, I'm sure I'm not using that word right. But yeah, he just kind of got the story going, and that was it. And then we got Andy Serkis playing Ulysses Claw. He was good, but I don't know what accent he was going for. He was kind of all over the place. It was like a Scottish-Australian mumbling thing. It's really weird. But they hinted at what he'll eventually become.
Oh, watch yourself, it's the Claw!
And I literally only brought him up so I could use that clip. Totally worth it. So now the big gun, Ultron. He was okay. Compared to Loki, we had a full movie before Avengers to build up Loki so we can know him. And this is really missing it. Ultron's change to evil was so quick, and it felt very rushed. And he just doesn't have the charisma that Loki had. And they tried to do a little bit with that, but it just didn't quite work out. In a sequel to a superhero movie, in the best ones, the hero always has to fall. In the second movie, like, he always has to have something that just beats him. And this did happen in this movie, but I just don't think it was Ultron that did it. And it just he didn't click that well as a villain. I mean, he did have his moments where he's super creepy and super awesome. I think it would have been better if they didn't animate the face. If they just let his mouth just kind of be a slit and maybe have some glowing behind it, I think that would have been a lot creepier, a lot scarier, and he would have been a better villain for it. But not just to be completely negative, he was still a good villain. He really played off, and this sounds like a negative, but it's actually positive. He came off as like a teenager, and the movie he kind of is. He's just born, and he just has this idea, and anyone that doesn't, understand his idea, or anyone that's against his idea, just doesn't understand him, and he's just so driven. It was just missing something, and I really think it was just the animated face made him too human, where if they really wanted to make him a robot, because he remakes his body over and over and over again, and why have a mouth? Like, why would he keep designing a mouth? Why wouldn't it just be, a slit? I think that's what he was missing, but he was still a good villain. And I'm a little disappointed that they didn't tie it in with Hank Pym at all. Which, being Ant-Man's the next movie, you'd think they'd at least do a throwaway line or something. So, the fans can be like, oh, I get that. And then once Ant-Man comes out, the people that aren't quite up on everything can be like, oh, I get what he meant in the last movie. And it could have tied together a lot more. So, I don't know. Maybe they'll do something in Ant-Man to change that. But that's a little disappointing. So I know I'm harping on this movie, and it sounds like I didn't like it, but I actually enjoyed it quite a lot. I just think it had some small problems with some of the character development. The action scenes are fantastic, and we get a lot more. And, a lot of people forget in the first Avengers movie how slow it took to get things going, to get everyone going. And, the first real big set piece is just, fixing the freaking helicarrier. And, a lot of stuff's going on there, but it wasn't really a battle. This one has battles and more than just the ending, and it's done really well. And the scene where they, have problems and they finally fail is great. And yeah, well done. But I think it just slightly missed the mark where, Guardians of the Galaxy was just fantastic throughout the whole thing. So at this point, I'm going to get into spoiler territory. So if you want to go in fresh, stop now. Or if you haven't seen it, stop now. Or click, let's say here. Click here to see a different video. You've been warned. So first kind of spoiler thing I'd like to talk about is, and the first thing that I really liked actually, is the fact they set up Hawkeye to die. everything about this. Oh, his family, he's gonna come back. He's gonna die. Like, I was just thinking it as soon as they introduced oh, Hawkeye's gonna die. Oh, he's the one with the family. This is gonna, be the tragic moment. And even up to the point where he almost dies, you're just like, yeah, he's gonna die. And they flip that, and it was actually done really well, and I really like that. But that's why I think Quicksilver was there. It was just kind of to die. That's why they didn't do a lot with him. He was there to die. The other thing, it's kind of spoilery that I want to talk about, is Black Widow and Hulk. Their romance, it does kind of fit, in a way. But the problem I'm having is Bruce Banner's got a girlfriend. Remember Liv Tyler in the last, Hulk movie with Ed Norton? That movie is canon. So, where's Liv? Is he just done with her? Like, what's going on there? Like, I didn't... he spent, this whole movie with, Betty Ross. And now he's just like, oh, ScarJo's hotter. I mean, she is hotter than Liv Tyler, but it doesn't feel like his character. Even if it's not the most popular movie, it's in canon, so you have to acknowledge Incredible Hulk. So where they leave the ending is kind of interesting, and it's gonna... once Ant-Man comes out, I'm gonna make some predictions for the future, so I'm gonna try and not do too many now. But, obviously they're setting up for Civil War, and at the end they got the new Avengers going on, and they show kind of the side characters becoming the Avengers, kind of living up to everybody's expectations that they're going to be changing out the lineup a little bit because everyone's contract's running out. So, but I like that idea, and I got some kind of ideas of what might happen, so we'll see. Obviously the no after credits thing, no stinger was kind of, it surprised a lot of people. Didn't surprise me too much, not just because Joss Whedon said there wasn't, but just it's becoming too much the thing. Marvel got popular because they didn't go with what everyone was doing. And now it becomes, oh, you have to have this. Not really. And to be honest, the mid-credits stinger was kind of lame. They keep building up Thanos just in these little things. He got this little part in Guardians. He's at the end of the first Avenger. And I know that they're building up to Infinity War, but I don't know. It's like he just needs to do something now. Like, he's just not doing anything. And so it was cool to see him wear the gauntlet, but I don't know. Either do something with him or don't. Alright, so this video is running a little long, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. So, on a scale from War Machine to Falcon, I would give this a Nova.